Welcome back to another episode of Home Service Headquarters. Today we welcome on Ryan Englin of a whole bunch of things, Ryan. We have Core Matters, your company. We have Titans of the Trade podcast, and we have the book, first edition, Hire Better People Faster. Maybe talk about the potential book number 2. See if they push it that far. But Ryan, a whole bunch of expertise in hiring and a whole bunch of other things. How you doing today, Ryan?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me today.
You bet. Well, I want to get into all of it, but the best part to start, probably my favorite part of each interview, is getting into the background, the personal history and the career history that kind of led you to the spot you are, where you are now working in and around trades, businesses, helping people hire.
Yeah. I grew up in a blue collar family. My dad was in the trades, and I watched what the industry did to him as I was growing up, because for a lot of my childhood, if I wanted to hang out with my dad, I was down at the shop. And so it was cool because I learned a lot about the trades early on.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just watched what it did to him. And I remember thinking early on, wow, being an entrepreneur must suck because my dad is working all the time. This is crazy. And as I got older, I decided, you know what? I mean, I was in that generation where they started saying, go to college, get a degree. Nobody can take your education away from you. So that's what I did. I went to college, and it took me 7 years to get a 4-year degree. That's how committed I was. And I got out of college, and I was like, yeah, what college prepared me for wasn't much.
Okay.
And so, but I graduated in 2001. It's right after the terrorist attack. Nobody was hiring. It was crazy. So I went into sales. I got into the mortgage industry. I got into banking, and I did that for about 10 years. And the whole time I was like, I don't want to be like my dad. I don't want to do what my dad's doing. I'm watching this business that just owns him, consumes him 6-7 days a week, 12, 14-hour days. He's on call all the time. This is nuts. Well, anyway, so I got through my banking stint, and I said, you know what, I'm ready to start my own business. And what I wanted to do was start a business, a marketing company, because I thought in my head, my dad's problem is he doesn't have enough customers coming in, enough customers coming back. And if he just had more customers, he'd have more money. And if he had more money, he could hire people to do this stuff. Well, a couple of years into that, doing the marketing for home service contractors, I realized that the issue was not the revenue. It was not the customers. The issue was no one ever taught my dad how to do this stuff. And no one had ever taught our clients that we had at the time how to do the hiring and the retention and the employee engagement and everything else, because they all grew up with a tool belt on.
Yep.
They all grew up in the trade, second, third generation of doing this. No one ever said, here's how you build a team of people you can trust. Here's how you hire the right technicians. Here's how you hire a customer service team. No one's ever taught this. There are a lot of school of hard knocks. There are a lot of going to networking groups and finding out what other people are doing. But no one's ever said, hey, when it comes to the trades, here's how we do the hiring. Here's how we do the onboarding. Here's how we do the retention. And not just give you a book and say, go learn it, but actually walk alongside you and do it. And so I pivoted the business, 10 years ago now. And I said, you know what? This is what I want to do. This is what the issue is in the industry. The industry does not need another marketing company generating leads through Google ads. Like, it doesn't need that. What the industry needs is someone to come alongside them and said, let's go build this business together. Because the reality is you're in the people business. And I know people. That's not only what my degree was in. That's not only what I learned in sales, but I've been just a lifelong learner of understanding people, human psychology. I said, let me walk alongside you and teach you how to do this stuff. Let me build the systems with you. Let me put these systems in place so that you can have that business you've always wanted and not have to deal with the people side of it anymore.
Sure. That's amazing. It's funny now, whatever number interview this is, it's got to be well above 50%. When we get into that, all right, take me to the very beginning. It's like, well, my dad or my mom were in the trades. And then just walking through that whole story about how it evolves, and you might not be in the trades yourself. You are, but you're not. And just seeing how that impact from the beginning and just thinking through it all, it's amazing. So as you're starting, was it called Core Matters when you're starting your marketing agency?
Core Matters, yeah.
Sure. And how quickly, how many years were you in business before you realized the hiring angle was kind of the way to go for you?
We're actually celebrating 15 years this year. So we were 5 years in. And what I did early on is I had this vision of, you know what, I want to be everything to everyone, which newsflash is not a good business strategy. And so my belief was, hey, so I did this for a couple of years where I said, hey, when the business is slow, they won't need the hiring and people support. So I'll help them on the lead gen side. And
Sure.
when the lead gen is easy and going well, and it's the busy season, they'll need help on the people side.
Sure.
Well, that's two different businesses.
Yeah.
It was impossible for me to
Yeah.
run. So I did that for a couple of years before I got ready to burn out. I said, no, we're just going to double down and focus on the people side of things. And so
Sure.
that's what we've been doing for the last 10 years.
It's a logical cycle, but like you said, you can't be everything to everyone. And
Yeah.
there's not a lot of people who have the expertise in hiring like you do, which I'm sure also is a differentiator that, is a big impact as you're working through things.
Yeah.
All right, so 10 years just hiring, 15 years started for all the reasons you kind of took us through. Break down a little bit more of core matters, industries you work with, size of companies you work with, and after that, maybe we can get into some of the process, which I know is a
Yeah.
longer answer
So
question.
at Core Matters, we work with ops heavy businesses. So think of the businesses out there that run on people. Like without your people, you can't deliver your product or your service. And so that would be everything in the trades. But that also goes into some adjacent industries. And we got manufacturing, we got construction, which is still in the trades.
Hmm.
Uh, but then, we work with financial planning firms, insurance agencies, those kinds of things, because they need lots of people to do their
Yeah,
work. And but my passion is the trades. Like Ryan Englin, I want to make the trades cool again. I want to make the trades easier. I want to solve this labor crisis. And you know, my my opinions aren't always the popular ones.
okay.
In fact, one of the things that we say is that we're contrarian by design. Like if someone came to me and said, "Oh, well, this is the way it works. This is the way we do it," we would question that. It's just natural for us. And so at Core Matters, we have developed a process we call the Core Fit Blueprint. And it's 7 phases. We walk along clients, we work with them on this journey to get them everything from stopping the bleeding, like how do we just solve the immediate problems, the ones that are keeping you up at night, those fires that are always burning, all the way to building the systems and processes you need so that by the time you get to phase 7 and you're ready to graduate, you can scale your business with confidence. You no longer have to worry about the people issues. You're no longer worrying about performance issues. Your leaders are trained. You've got a pipeline of future leaders coming in. And you just look at it and you go, I don't have people problems anymore. Now, I know that's probably a little too aspirational, but for the most part, we can solve most of the people problems with better processes and systems.
Amazing. And what does the process? So you broke down the 7 steps. Does that look like weekly meetings, phone
Yeah.
calls?
So working with us directly, we work through the 7 phases, and we put everybody into a weekly accountability group. This is a peer group where you get to sit down with peers for an hour every single week and work through the projects you're working on, the initiatives, the questions you have, everything else. I'm not going to pretend to always be the smartest guy in the room. Sometimes there are things that are distracting our leaders that we're working with, that it's just easier to come with peers. But it also gives us an opportunity to say, hey, we haven't talked to you in a couple of weeks. Where are you at? What's working? What's not working? And then on the coaching and advising side, the consulting side, we meet with you twice a month. We bring your executive team in. It's all virtual. We do it all virtually. I find that the nice thing about doing virtual is you don't always have to be in the office. And if you're in the
Sure.
trades, like the shop and the office is the last place most of these guys want to be.
Yeah.
So, but twice a month, you sit down with us. We work through the plan. We keep you on track with the program. We deal with fires as they come up. There's a lot of change management that happens.
Sure.
Change is hard for a lot of people, especially if you've been in the industry 20, 30 years. You want to do it the way you've always done it. But the reason that you call us is because what you're doing doesn't work.
Hmm.
And so we have to work through that. But yeah, so it's a weekly accountability session. It's a couple times a month meeting 1-to-1. And then of course, life happens, business happens. We're available, to meet with you and solve any problems. We just met with a client not too long ago, and they got to fire their COO. Well, I'm not looking at the clock going, well, we don't meet for 3 weeks. We'll talk to you then. It's like, nope, let's
Yeah.
get on a call. Let's emergency triage this. Let's figure it out. They got their attorney on the call. How do we deal with this? Like, we're working through that with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So I really like people to think of us as an extension of their leadership team, the group that runs or owns the employee experience, because that's what we call this. It's the employee experience, which runs the gamut. Like, I want to be clear, we're not HR. We are not compliance expert. That's why the attorney was on the phone, because I don't know what the rules are. But it's all about creating that amazing experience, because when you have a great experience, you have high engagement. When you have high engagement, you're more productive. When you're more productive, you're more profitable. And that's what we want, right? Like, we want companies that are very profitable. And so when we start thinking about it as owning the employee experience, that's where the magic happens.
I love it. You said one thing that went off in my head. Change management. I know from my job in software in the trades that change for some of these business owners is not something they enjoy. In fact, might be something that they avoid. What are the ways to kind of work through this with them? Is it laying out the full process? Is it digging deeper to why? What does that look like?
So we have a process that we take all of our clients through. We actually implement it. We teach our clients how to implement this in onboarding. So here's what I found when it comes to getting people to change is a lot of times they think we need to change just for change's sake, or the change that needs to happen is scary because the person taking them through the change doesn't really know how to make it happen. So we have this process where we lay out all the issues that may come up, all the areas in which they're going to need to change, all the things they're going to need to think about differently. And we say, hey, if it's on this list, you're not alone. We've walked someone through it before. You can come talk to us about it. And that helps. Sometimes we just have to let them keep hurting themselves until they go, okay, it's so painful, I want it to stop.
Sure.
We just had a client do that. Like 2 months ago, I'm on the phone. I'm talking to this client. He's been with us about 6 months. And he goes, I'm ready to do it your way. And I go, what happened? He goes, for 6 months, we've been fighting you. Like, he has this realization. For 6 months, we've been fighting you to keep doing it our way. And I'm seeing now that our way doesn't work. And so it was just crazy. But sometimes we just got to let them keep banging their head on the wall. Keep them safe. Like, we always do that. Like, don't hurt yourself. But sometimes we just have to let them do it. But I think showing them, here's where you're at, and this is the outcome you could have. Here's the win that you could have by changing. I think that helps them walk through that a lot.
Sure. That's a perfect answer to one, lay out maybe the ideal process, and two, also call to the fact that sometimes they're just going to fight you on it until you can prove it through the painful process of 6 months of failure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. All right. Well, that leads me into probably my next favorite thing that I had picked out. And that's just stories. I would love to hear, you can tell me where to start, either the best success story that you've had with a business and from where they started to where they ended. And maybe after we can get into the least successful story of a company you tried to work with and it just wasn't happening. There's some gaps.
Luckily, I don't have many of the least successful.
That's good.
We let people know, hey, when you come work with us, we're not going to solve problems in 90 days. Like, we will solve problems, we will get wins, but we're not going to fix everything in 90 days. This is a journey. We tell companies, hey, you need to plan 36 months, 3 years working through this program. It's not a quick fix because we want to create permanence in these changes. We want to not just roll something new out. Like, how many times have you seen a company where they roll out new software and then nobody adopts it? Or they keep just hacking through it. And then 6 months later, they look around and go, why are we paying for this thing?
Yeah, we have 4 different softwares. We're not using any of them correctly.
Yes. So I think what I'd like to do is really just think about, how do we create this permanent change in the companies? And so we've got a client we've been working with for almost 8 years now. Remember, I said 3 is the program, but some people are like, we're going to let it ride. We're going to keep working, structure the relationship a little different. When we met them, they had just taken on this public project that was the game changer, the kind that puts you on the map, the kind that gives you a name. And you know how some of these owners are. They bid the job, they win the job, and then they figure out how to staff it. Well, for 9 months, they were burning their team out, crushing them with the overtime, working with the GCs to make sure that the project could keep going. And they found us and they said, we need to hire 50 guys right away. Now, keep in mind, this is a company that's like 140, 150 employees. So 50 is a third.
Yeah.
And this isn't just the front line. We need superintendents, we need foremen, we need everything. And so we worked together, and in 90 days, we helped them hire 50 people.
Holy cow.
Now, as you can imagine, that uncovered a lot of other things that we needed to deal with. But within 90 days, we helped them, increase their company size by 30%.
It's insane.
Just by putting the systems in place. Now, when you look at the company then 8 years ago, they had a net margin of, they're in construction. So they had a net margin in maybe the 5-6% range, right? So for construction, that might be okay. 5-6% range. So now I just met with them a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about last year, and they're going to hit 18% net this year.
Wow.
And they've only got 80 people on staff.
Whoa.
They are doing almost the same amount of revenue as they were before with half the people, and they've tripled their margin.
Amazing. So you start working with them, grow by 30%, and after how many years then from there, they're now down 50% from their peak, yet the revenues are staying even.
They've got the systems in place. They're more productive. They've brought in some robotics into their construction work. So, but a lot of that is a mindset shift of saying, hey, we're not just looking for a set of hands. We're not just looking for a body. We're not just looking for a laborer to do the work. We're looking for skilled craftsmen who want to work alongside other skilled elite craftsmen and just be the best of the best. Their vision, their 10-year vision was to be the premier provider of their services. And here we are 8 years in, and I think those numbers would say that they're a premier provider, right?
Right. Yeah. If they're not number one in their area, they have to be top 2 or 3, you'd think.
Yeah. It's insane.
Amazing.
It's so efficient. They're so productive. They have no turnover now. I think maybe they lost one guy last year, and that was a personal thing. It wasn't, he left because he didn't want to be there.
Right.
And they're so high quality. He says this, he was introducing me one time, and he goes, here's the thing. Everything that Ryan teaches is counterintuitive. And that's why it works. He goes, I thought I had to bring a guy in, interview him as fast as possible, and just get him out on the job site and then coach him into performing. He goes, but what Ryan taught me is that I need to be picky up front. If these guys aren't willing to jump through the hoops, if they're not willing to go through our crazy interview process, if they're not willing to show and demonstrate that they are the best of the best, I don't even give them a shot to play.
Sure.
And that's not normal in the industry.
Right. And on the other side of it too, which I've heard you talk about in other shows and different things, but they have to get to a point where they are that desirable of an employer where people will jump through those hoops and work to be on that team. Is that part of the process as well? Where
that is phase 2.
Okay.
Of the 7 phases, phase 2 is all focused on becoming the employer of choice. That's what we want. We want you to be the place that people choose to work and they choose to stay. And sometimes I'll even say, once they're there, they'll fight to stay because they know how good they've got it. But we have to take you through a process. And for some, this can be a real challenging process because you have to become that employer. Most companies are not. You have to be very intentional about it. Mm-hmm. And we've developed a 6-step process that we take your leadership team through, develop some systems, develop some ways of communicating that really emphasize you being as that employer that people want to work for.
That's amazing. So you mentioned, is that a unique maybe experience or relationship where they come to you with one specific problem? We need to hire 30% of our workforce or increase our workforce by 30%, and then they uncover other issues? Or is that pretty typical where people might come to you with one singular issue, and then you kind of uncover multiple in the process?
Yeah. Here's the thing. If you're in a people business, which in the trades, you're in the people business.
Yep.
People are very similar. So, think about it. We all have hopes and dreams and desires. We may not communicate them well. We all want to be treated well. We want to be paid well. We pretty much know that across the board.
Sure.
It's pretty common for people to come to us and say, hey, I just need to hire 4 people. I cannot, or the other one that's come up a lot more now is I can't keep people. They keep leaving me for more money, right? PE's involved and they keep poaching all my guys, right? And the reality is, and we know this because people are people, most people will not leave for money.
Okay.
Most people do not leave for money. Looking for work, switching jobs is one of life's most stressful events. You have no idea what you're getting into. You're creating a lot of uncertainty for you and your family.
Sure.
You've got to restart on your benefits. Like, it's a lot of work and it's very stressful. And no one is going to leave somebody for a couple dollars more an hour, because for that extra $1,000 that you get at the end of the year, it's not worth the stress. It's not worth the uncertainty and the risk. Why they leave is because the place that they're at is so painful for them to go to work every day that they say the uncertainty and the risk is easier than that.
Amazing.
And it just so happens that if someone hasn't left you in a year, the economy's changed. People are paying more for that role. And most companies have not kept up with market wages. So they're not saying, oh, well, the market's paying $2 more an hour. Everybody gets a $2 an hour raise. They just don't do that. But the irony in that is when they need to hire the new guy to replace the guy that just left, they got to pay the new guy more.
Plus the onboarding costs and all the things that go into it.
A whole bunch of things that go into it. Yeah.
That's amazing. Even sitting where I am, I wouldn't have thought of it the way you said. I had a light bulb go off when you said people don't leave for more money. I feel like when you think about changing a job, that's the most common reason that might pop into your head. Well, they probably got more money elsewhere. But you're right. Or I'm realizing you're right. I know you're right because of what you do, but people don't do that.
And they probably did get more money because we know that there's a labor crisis. We know that there's a shortage. We know that people are willing to pay more than they probably should for some of these roles. Actually, let me rephrase that. People are finally starting to pay what people deserve for these roles. Like, we've kept wages stagnant for so long. And I don't think it's an industry issue as much as it is a marketing and sales issue. We haven't been good at being able to convince the customer, you need to pay more for this.
Sure.
You'll pay $700 or $800 an hour for your attorney to get you out of trouble. But you don't want to pay a technician more than $40 an hour to get you out of trouble.
Right.
Like, we've got this, like, it's backwards.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's a big part of the problem is that we don't know how to explain to the customer, this is what these people are worth. And it's because we've never spent the time on marketing and sales that we really need to spend.
Sure. And do you then, I mean, you have expertise in that, but when you get to that point, do you kind of hand them off to somebody when we start with the marketing and sales, or do you assist in parts of that now?
No, we stay away from the customer acquisition side of things. We have companies that we trust that we would refer them to if someone really needed help on the customer acquisition. But here's the thing to think about. And this is a different way of thinking it. Most of the time when we think of marketing and sales, most companies think, how do I market to and acquire more customers? Right? They just what they do. So they create websites and ads that say, we're available 24/7. We're on call, emergency services. You know, we can do whatever you need. We can do plumbing and electrical and HVAC. We got it all. Right. And that's what we do to acquire new customers. But what happens is when I'm a job seeker and I see that,
it's the opposite.
What I see is I'm going to have no life.
Yeah.
I'm going to be on call all the time. You probably cater to and allow the customer to roll over on us all the time, right? So it's going to suck working for you.
Yeah, right. As you talk through all those things, yeah, as a homeowner, those all sound great. As an employee, this sounds like I'm quitting within 3 months max.
Yeah. Like, why would I even apply? I mean, maybe you're paying top of the market and you got some great spiffs or something. So I'll call you and talk to you, but I'm not interested in that. But here's the thing that's interesting. Think of from a homeowner's perspective. So we know that in especially home services, 75% of the time, the wife is the one that answers the door and lets the tech in. We know this, right? Most of the time, it's the wife is going to do that. So if she's the one that's deciding who to work with, and she goes to your website or she sees your ad, what if the ad looked like this? What if it said, we hire the best background checked techs. We train them to be elite in their industry. They know how to serve you better than anyone else, and they work as a team. We also make sure that they have enough time off so that they get rested and everything else. They're not overworked. You're not going to get the tech who's already worked 70 hours and is burnt out and doesn't want to work today. They're well rested. Oh, by the way, we give them great trucks. We make sure they've always got a nice pressed uniform. We teach them how to make sure we meet your needs. Well, if I'm a tech, I'm looking at that and go, that's a company I want to be a part of. And if you're the homeowner, you're looking at that and go, that's the kind of tech I want in my house. Yep. Right? And so we've got this backwards. We think that all of our advertising, our websites, everything need to be about customer acquisition. And we ignore the fact that it's really hurting our recruiting efforts. But if we flipped it and said, what would attract a great top-notch tech, a top-tier tech? Well, guess what? The same stuff that it would attract them would attract the homeowner. Right. And so, but we don't think about it like that.
Right. Singular focus on customer acquisition rather than employee retention and hiring and all those things.
Absolutely.
It's amazing how, and you can see naturally, right, as we start this conversation, you want to get customers, so you market to customers, and then you cut off, part of your business that needs to serve that. And well, I suppose I might be writing a review of Core Matters and why you guys exist as I'm thinking through these things.
Yeah, and we've had contractors, different parts of the country, who have said, you know what, I'm going to take this recruiting first approach to my website and to my ad campaigns, and I want you to work with the marketing team to help them do this. And they spend less because guess what? You're no longer competing on the emergency services 24/7 You're not competing on that. So you're not competing with the guys spending a lot of money. So you spend less and your conversions go up, and recruiting just got easier. Like, it's a win-win-win. Like, I don't know, but most people fight me on it because they're scared. Sure. Because of the change stuff that we talked about earlier.
Right. And it does position you to probably be unique in your market. I suppose you don't work with, too many people in competing markets. So that's also, I'm sure, a difficulty where they're like, well, we don't want to be the only ones advertising in this way, even though to stand out, there's that mind switch that you almost have to make with some of these things to tie it all in. It's crazy.
It is.
I'm saying it's crazy because I myself, even having watched some of your content and spoken to you before, I'm now making new connections just as we're having this conversation and putting some things together. And it's amazing. It's fun to make these connections.
Yeah. I love this. I geek out at this stuff. This is why I love coming on shows and sharing this stuff with people. And it's really not hard to do this. You just have to want it. And that's the hard part.
And put the processes in place. And I suppose maybe this is another question. Do you ever run into people who just don't stay committed to the steps where you're fighting it and they might just
you asked me for one of my horror stories. I did, and we forgot that.
I was coming back to it because this is
we had a they're not even in business anymore. That tells you anything.
Sure. That probably is a good lead.
This was probably 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago. It was a while back. And it was this group of guys that all owned a remodeling, mostly siding. They did a ton of siding and they did some remodeling projects, that kind of, and these 4 guys, I don't even know why they were in the same room together. They were the most toxic bunch I've ever seen. All of them were high dominance. All of them wanted to be in charge. All of them wanted the other guys to be squashed under their thumb. And they couldn't figure out why they couldn't keep people. And I said, do you act like this in front of your team? And they're like, well, yeah, we want to be authentic and be ourselves. And the reality is, and this goes across the board, and we're going to see this over the next decade. There are some companies that are in business today that really just need to get out of business because they've got toxic leadership teams. Their leaders don't want to change. They're not keeping up with the market. They think that the market needs to serve them, not the other way around. And there are just some people that just need to go. And these guys are out of business now. But we pushed through that for about 3 months.
Okay.
And we just guys, we can't work with you like this. Like, you can't do this. You need to pick one person. So they picked one person. He said, this is the guy that's going to run this initiative. He called me and he's like, you just need to go. He's like, this ain't going to get any better. And they couldn't find people. They couldn't keep people. Their reviews were atrocious. I'm like, because they didn't want it. And that's the
Right.
key piece. Like, you have to want to do this. You have to want to do the work. Think of it. I always tell people, think of me like that personal trainer. Just because you're writing the check to the personal trainer and you've got your gym membership and you're paying for that chef's delivery service, right, for the food, if you don't actually eat the food, go to the gym, do the work that needs to be done, you're not going to get in shape or lose weight.
Right.
It's the same thing here. That's why we're not in the recruiting staffing space, because that's the thing about recruiters and staffing agencies. You write them a check, they deliver you an outcome, but it's not permanent.
Sure.
I mean, that's why nobody likes recruiting companies.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Amazing. As we talk through some of this stuff, it kind of dawns on me the how you do anything is how you do everything. And it almost feels like a lot of companies focus on customer acquisition and marketing and maybe even the actual technical work they're doing. So they're doing good work, but then they don't focus on the hiring, and it ends up feeding into everything else because it is the people, like you're saying.
The best companies that we've worked with, the ones that get it the fastest, are the ones that have no history with the industry.
Amazing.
So there's somebody that said, I'm a business owner and I want to buy into an HVAC company. I want to own an HVAC company, but I can't get my license. So I've got to have someone who's licensed so that I can run in the area. I've got to find somebody that can, get me techs, but they think like a businessman or a businesswoman. They are the fastest to get results because they can't be in the truck, right?
Right.
But how often, I know companies, they got 70 techs and it's a grind for them and they're stressed and their people are stressed. And when a tech calls in or there's a high profile project, where's the owner? In the truck, on the job site, dealing with that stuff because he doesn't trust his people all the time. We had a pest control company we worked with that was like that. 20 years in business, one of the largest pest control companies in the area. And that owner knew everything that was going on in the business. And he had 50 trucks. And I'm like, how do you do it? He goes, I don't sleep. And I could not get him to calm down. Finally, his doctor made him retire so he wouldn't have a heart attack. And his son took over and put some stuff in place. But people that have history or grew up in the industry or can do the work, like how many times do you meet an owner that says, I can do this work better than my techs can? Like, that's not a thing to be proud of.
Yeah.
Right. You should be able to run the business better than your techs can, but you shouldn't be the best tech on your team. And so that's another thing that we run into.
Yeah. Have you ever run into a situation where, you maybe uncover the fact that they don't want to get out of the truck? They love what they do, and they, rather than growing, they might need to stabilize. And if they really truly love what they do, continue to do that. Have you come across it?
So we had this was real early on. We started doing this. We were doing some organizational design, and the founder, it was second generation business that kids were taking over. Dad was still running the business and the kids were coming up through the business, and we sat down and we said, hey, is Dad really the right one to be running the business? And when we sat down and we asked the team said, we want Dad in the field because he's the best one at selling these big projects.
And he loves it.
And Dad's like, that's all I want to do. And so Dad got fired. He still owned the company 100%.
Sure.
But he got fired and he went and ran the sales team. And the next year, the company grew faster than it's ever grown in its history because Dad was not the best one qualified for running the company.
Sure.
Yeah. So we do see that. But it takes a real humble person to be able to do that.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure there are plenty of people who would fight until it all collapses upon itself, like our group of angry guys for the worst of the worst story.
Oh yeah. Yep.
All right, well, this is amazing. One other thing that's been hanging in my mind is the different parts of what you guys do. What are the parts of hiring, onboarding, retention, all those things that people struggle the most with, and what are the ones that people seem to just understand the most as you kind of roll it out for them?
Well, most companies, I can't say most, a lot of companies, they come to us and everybody wants phase 3 and phase 6. That's what they want. They want phase 3 and phase 6.
And what
Uh,
are 3 and 6?
yeah, phase 3 is right people, right seats, which is
Okay,
where we do organizational design. We put an org chart in place and we write a job description for every single company, every single employee in the company. Like we
sure.
rewrite them using our process, which a lot of times employers look at them and they're like, this is way too long. I could never deliver this. And then they give it to the employee and the employee breaks down in tears going, this is what I've wanted from you my whole time I've been here. So everything we do it for employee first. It's always about the front line. We always want to make sure that they have what they need. And truth is, most of the time, these leaders in these companies, they're not very good communicators.
Okay,
And so the more we can put it in writing for them and help them build that, and we build those for them. Like they're giving us just enough to get going. And then we build all the job descriptions. We build all the job ads. We build all the interview guides. Like we're building all of that for them.
amazing.
And so that's in phase 3. Everybody wants that. Everybody wants the job descriptions for the wrong reason. They want it because they want to use it as a stick. You're not doing your job. Like these are your numbers. This is what you're supposed to be doing. And really what we want to do is we want them to shift that thinking into, we want these job descriptions because it empowers and it equips our team. Now they know what's expected. They know what they got to do to put points on the board. And that's all your people want. They want to know how to win. And that's phase 3. And then they all want phase 6, which is where we get into building your bench, passive recruiting. And so we call it a bench where you have just a list of people who are ready to go. They're pre-qualified. They're ready to go. And as soon as you grow, you just call people on your list. You're no longer recruiting. You're no longer on the job boards. You're no longer scrambling. And so you've got this bench of candidates that are highly qualified. In fact, one of the neatest things is we had a company, a remodeling contractor out of Kansas City, that they called me a couple of years after they started building this bench. And they said, we don't even advertise our jobs anymore. I've got 12 people that have all told me as soon as the next position opens, they want it. And they go, I didn't think it was possible, but they stuck with it. They kept going. They kept going. They built this amazing bench. And now they never have to struggle with people again. So everybody wants 3 and 6. No one really wants to do 1 and 2 or 4 and 5.
Right.
They just
Nobody
want
wants
3
to
and 6.
stop the bleeding. Nobody wants to look inwards at what they're doing
Yeah.
wrong.
Nobody wants to fix the issues. Nobody, it's funny. Nobody wants to do the employer of choice work. They just want the benefit of being the employer
Sure.
of choice. Because
Right.
the work is some of the hardest stuff we do. And then we get into phase 4, and that's about onboarding, rolling out these job descriptions. And it's aligning people and processes. That's what we do in phase 4. And people are like, oh, it's boring, but not for your people. Your people love it. Like, let's think about what they want. And so it's just one of those things. But, if we take them through the process and they stick with it, I mean, they get amazing results. And we've got a whole bunch of success stories on our website, get case studies on there. I mean, anybody wants to check that out, by all means.
Yeah, and we'll link everything too in the description and be able to send people all the different ways to all the different things you do for sure, which uh, is a great part of this. There's a lot of value in the description of all of our episodes. There's a lot of things to find
Nice.
and to go continue on there. Another one that's been in my mind too is kind of like the idea of a la carte help, where they might need help with one service. Like the example you said, where they needed to hire 50 people. Do people come to you and want to stop the relationship there? They say, hey, we need help with this one problem. We want help with just this, and that's it. Or do they
Yeah.
kind of realize after 3 conversations, for example, that like, all right, there's a little more to solving this one problem than just solving this one problem?
Yeah. And that's something that we've been working on getting better at, is really diagnosing the issue before we start working together, just so they know what to expect.
Okay.
We tell people that this is a 24 to 36 month journey working with us to get through all 7 phases, 24 to 36 months. People always ask me, like, why the difference? Well, because some stuff you may have already done a lot of the work. And I'm not just going to lock you in and be like, oh, we're just going to tiptoe around this. If you've already done the work, like let's finish that phase
Right.
up. Uh, we've got a couple of clients right now that they've done some employer of choice work already. Now, we're still going to kick the tires. We're still going to make sure it's right. We're still going to follow our process. But, instead of taking 3 months to get through it, we might get through it in 3 weeks. Well, let's just keep going, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Amazing.
there's no reason to just sit in phase 2 forever just because that's the way we built it. So,
Right.
so for some companies, it goes faster. For some companies, it goes a little bit slower. But we've gotten a lot better at saying, hey, let's really understand where you're at. In fact, this is something I wanted to offer your listeners. We have a new employer of choice report. It's an online assessment they can take. It's 54 questions. It takes about 5 minutes. And when they're done, they get a customized report on where are they at in the employer of choice life cycle.
I
And
love that.
it gives them some next steps, everything else. If they want, at the end of it, if they want me to help them understand it or put a plan together, they can hop on a call with me as just a way for them to get exposure to what it is that we do and understand, hey, if I want to do this, because here's the reality, Jack. If I don't help enough companies do this, the industry is still going to be struggling in a decade. And so I know I'm not going to be able to help everybody, but I want to help as many people as I can. And so that's why we build some of these free tools for them. That's why I wrote the book.
I love it. I bet too, even with that questionnaire, as you're reading these questions and thinking through your answers to it, you probably start to make some self realizations and things like that. That could even be. I know you predominantly work with large companies. For the smaller companies that are maybe listening to this, even going through that and just doing the thought experiment of, am I, running things the right way? Am I setting myself up to be an employer of choice? It's probably an amazing exercise and worth your
Yeah.
time.
Our sweet spot is really that 50 to 250 employees. That's really our sweet spot. But I just talked to a guy, was yesterday, and he's got 8 employees, and he's like, I'm going to figure out how to do this because he sees the path and he
Mhm.
can see what it gets him. And, a lot of our case studies have to do with the owner being able to take longer vacations and being able to disconnect
Sure.
from the business. And he's like, if I could get to 25 guys and do it right, he goes, that's worth the cost of admission right there. That's worth the work. And so I don't want to discount the smaller guys. Like if you've got the vision and you can make it happen and you're willing to put in the work, we'll work with you. Uh, but once you get to about 50 employees, like the results that you get, it's just a no brainer.
Sure. I love it. That has been another thing I've been curious about. What are the differences, or maybe are there major differences between those companies of different sizes? So maybe that example, 8 to 25, we'll say 50 to 100 and 250 plus. Are there similar issues, or maybe to be more specific, you spend more time on different phases with companies of different sizes, or is it pretty similar across the board?
The issues are all the same. Remember, I said we're in the
Amazing.
people business, right? It's
Yeah.
people. The issues are all the same. I just say this: how many commas is it costing you? It's different, right? So when you're smaller, it might only be costing you 10 grand a year, and when
Sure.
you're 500 employees, it might be costing you a million or 2 million a year. Like that's really the difference.
Sure.
But it's yeah, the problems are all the same. That's why we were able to build our blueprint and say, hey, we're just going to walk you through all this. If we go through all this together, we're going to solve 99% of the issues that you're dealing with. And then the outliers are just those weird personalities that we can't understand. We got a client right now, they've got a guy on the team, and I learned about him on day 1, and he is incredibly toxic.
Okay.
Nobody wants to work with him, but he's just that good. And we'll let him go. I don't care if you're 10 employees or if you're 1,000 employees, you've all got one of those guys
Sure.
that you just will not let go of. We've all got that crazy psycho brother or brother-in-law that we will not fire because we don't want Thanksgiving to be awkward. But in exchange for that, 364 days a year are awful because nobody likes working with him. Like, I don't understand. Like, it's all very similar. The speed at which we can get the results is different. That's why we like working with the smaller companies. When you get too big, the speed to get results is just,
Sure.
we like to move fast.
Right.
We get bored very fast. We get frustrated very quickly when it's like, we've talked about this for 3 weeks. Why is it not done? When you get really big companies, we've worked with some really large companies. We've talked about this for a year. Why isn't it done? It's just like, oh, I can't do
Red
that.
tape and
And there are
stress.
people that play that game much better than we do because I don't really have a filter. Like if you're not doing
Fair.
something right, you're going to hear about it from me.
That probably is effective for the role you're in. Sometimes people need to hear the truth, and a lot of their
Yeah.
people probably don't want to be the ones to tell them.
Yeah, that is absolutely true.
I love it. All right. One other thing that I want to make sure we cover as I'm taking up too much of your time here is something that I think I haven't seen other people talk about it too much. I think you're on the forefront, and that's the cost of employee disengagement.
Mm.
We've talked about it a little bit. I would love to, one, maybe even just have you explain it. Employee disengagement is a simple term, but maybe how it can interact and affect your
We
business. I'd love to hand it off to you.
Yeah, we all know the symptoms of employee disengagement. The easiest one, if you're in the trades, is rework. Rework is a symptom of disengagement. Somebody was so disengaged, they weren't paying attention. They missed it. They got sloppy. They took too long. Rework is a symptom of disengagement. Easiest one. And usually, especially for more established companies, rework is on the P&L. So we get to see that. Like, how much did rework cost us this
Sure.
month, this quarter, this year? So that is a symptom of disengagement. But to define disengagement is when employees just don't care about their results anymore. It's a feeling that they have where they're just like, I don't care. We've heard this before. We all have that person who's willing to do just enough to not get fired. That is a disengaged employee. But other places where it shows up, if you have a lot of projects to get behind schedule, that's disengagement. If you have sloppy job sites, like this job site's just not clean or it's not safe, that's disengagement. If you've got safety issues or a lot of near misses, that is disengagement. When you look more on the office side, how much water cooler talk or long lunches or tardiness is happening.
Mm-hmm.
We have that in the field too. Tardiness, absenteeism, all symptoms of disengagement. These are the people that have said, you know what? It's not worth fighting for anymore. Remember I told you about being an employer of choice is they fight to stay.
Mm-hmm.
When you're an employer of choice and people know it, they will be engaged.
Sure.
Because when they're not, you're going to solve that problem really fast. So think about, I want everybody listening to think about the people on your team. We've all got a handful of them that if we had the confidence we could replace them with someone better, we would. Those people are all disengaged. If you've got a leader who is never putting up their numbers or never dealing with it or tolerating poor performers, they are disengaged. Like the symptoms are everywhere.
Sure.
Here's what I found. I did some math. So nobody else had to, but there are some studies out there where people have done this research and said, in this industry, these are the things that can impact it. Here are the factors of it. And I'm not going to go into all of them because frankly, I don't remember them all right now, but I did the math. And here's the easy thing you can do. Take your top line revenue, multiply it by 8.4%. So if you're doing 10 million a year, I'll do the math for you. 8.4% is $840,000. $840,000 is what you lost in profits due to disengagement. Because you're not billing for the disengagement, you're losing. And there's not another account on your P&L where that money should go, which means it's being ripped right off the bottom line. So that company I told you about, that success story where they got half the people and triple it's because they solved the disengagement issue.
Sure.
And that's the easy math. We actually have a calculator on our website. If you go to our website, corematters.com, you plug in your revenue, you plug in your number of employees. You don't got to give me an email address or anything. And it will calculate a lot more closely to the actual number based on industry standards and stats and everything else. It'll actually calculate what disengagement could be costing you every single year.
It's amazing. And is that something, in my mind, as I think through it, that people don't want to admit, don't want to realize about their own business as you kind of break it open? Or once you maybe point to it, do people understand it pretty quickly?
I think, so the people that we've talked to, so we've just rolled out this calculator in the last couple of months and we've shared it with all of our clients. And I get two reactions. And they're stark on the opposite sides. One is, that's it. That's all it's costing me. I thought it would cost me way more than that. So that's one side. And then the other side is, I don't believe you. And the important thing here is, and we're working on this report now where you will be able to put in your actual numbers, your employee count, how much you spend on rework, your profit margin. You'll be able to put all these things in. And then we're working on a way to deliver you a report that's actually customized for what your business is doing. And I think it'll really be an eye opener for a lot of people, because we're not tracking this on the P&L. A lot of times we're just saying, oh, it's the industry, it's the generation, it's the market. Like, we're looking at all the outside influences saying, we're the victim. This is just the way it is. Mm-hmm. And that's it. Right. And so
I feel like it's common.
What?
I feel like it's common to look at outside factors rather than looking inward. And I'm sure that's why step one is the most painful.
It's a lot easier to blame someone else than it is to take ownership for our issues. Absolutely.
Amazing. All right. Last thing I wanted to cover before we hit a few segments is talking about the book. We talked a little bit off air about the process of writing a book, and we could probably have a whole other podcast about the
I can tell you a lot of things not to do when writing a book.
But plug the book a little bit. Tell people about what they can find. I know you've been very generous, even in this podcast, about sharing tips and tricks.
Yeah. So
what else can the book give?
Yeah, hire better people faster. So we developed, before we got into the blueprint, which is just an evolution of what we do, we developed the CoreFit hiring system. And this was a set of tools and practical systems that you could implement to help you with better hiring and onboarding of employees. We didn't get into the engagement. We didn't get into a lot of that, but it is all about how do you attract, how do you hire, how do you onboard people? And it's very much a how-to book. So you can get the book. We've had people call me and they're like, amazing book. I'm doing everything that I would have paid you to do. And I got it for $19.99. And I was like, you know what? Those are the kind of people that deserve it. If they're willing to put in the effort, like, go for it. Sure. And, but it's a lot of how-to stuff. So if you want to know specific tips and tactics, and you can go through that whole book. In fact, if you want, I can even plug the book. If someone wants a copy of the book, they can go to corematters.com/free book. And all you got to do is pay shipping and handling. I'll autograph a copy and mail it to you. So you can have a copy of my book. Also, when you do that, when you go get the free book from us, we're going to give you 12 of our tools that you can download and you can put into practice right away. So it's an amazing offer. Okay. But I just want to get that. The reason I wrote the book is I knew there was going to be a lot of people out there that would just never even contact us for help. Mm-hmm. But they would take action on their own. And so I just want to give that information out there. So if you are struggling with, especially at getting good, high quality people to apply, that book's going to give you a whole bunch of ideas and different ways you can go make that happen.
That's amazing. I love just the heart behind kind of what you do. And you said it earlier, you want to be able to help as many of these service businesses as possible. Otherwise, we don't know what might happen. You don't know what the industry and industries might look like.
I am a homeowner, and one of the most painful things I ever have to do is call a contractor. Like, it sucks.
You were talking about employee disengagement, and I think it was on Monday of this week. This is just yesterday. I had to have an electrician come back out because they fixed one light and gave me a permit, and they didn't fix the light that they touched second. So as you were talking about that, I was like, yep, that was two guys that came out. It was 30 minutes from their shop. I was trying to calculate the cost of that one, maybe disengaged action.
It's just one time. And here's the other thing. When they come out, and here's the other thing, if you're in home services or commercial services, and you know this, but I'm going to poke it a little bit because it hurts. That guy that had to come back out, that's another new job he didn't get to take. Sure. So you get hit twice. You get hit in the cost it took to fix it, and you lose out on the opportunity of selling a new customer. And it's like, we know that, but when we call it out like that, I think it hurts a little more.
Right. Yeah. You can start to put even generalized amounts to it. Crap. Oh, and crap. And wow.
We had a plumbing company. They figured out that a callback I forget how they caught these numbers, but I think it was about $1,600 because that was their average ticket based on this. So they actually applied $1,600 to every callback. And I think it was, I don't know, it was a few months ago. They had 9 callbacks in 1 month. Do the math.
Right.
And that's just money ripped off the bottom line. Like crazy.
That is. Wow. That's something to spend some time with and thought for the business owners out there, and just maybe do some reflection, and maybe if it's really bad, maybe call Ryan and he can help you walk through some of the steps to remedy it.
Love to do that. Yeah. Corematters.com is our website. It's the easiest way to get hold of us. I'm really active on LinkedIn too. So if you want to reach out and just DM me there, we can do that as well.
Cool. Well, last question for you is an open-ended question. I'll give you a chance to get on your soapbox if there is anything. What's the number one piece of advice, hiring or otherwise, because you work in hiring, but you see a lot of aspects of business. What's the number one piece of advice you would give to a service business owner of any size? Or if you want to go a little bit more specific, you can say if it's size, break it down however you'd like.
The number one advice. Well, I mean, it really comes down to what's their real thing that they're dealing with. But we've talked a lot about hiring. So let's talk about hiring for a second. So if you're that owner that just, you dread it every time you've got to hire, whether you got to replace somebody or you got to bring on someone new, you got to get a new truck. I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff that goes into it. But if you're hiring, the one thing you can do to make hiring easier, we've all done this on the marketing side, but we've never done on the employee side. Like in marketing, we have an ideal customer, right? Like we've got an ideal customer profile. Put together an ideal employee profile. What is the ideal employee for you? Write it all down. Everything you want. If you got to hire your all-star, what traits, what behaviors, what skill set, what experience, what background, write it all down. Legal's not looking over your shoulder, so don't worry about being all PC or whatever. Write it all down. What is it you want? And then take a step back and look at that and say, are we the company that could attract that person? Because if you're not, now you know what you got to do.
It's amazing. I love that. It's so simple in utility, right? Sit down, you spend 20, 30 minutes on it, but it uncovers so much, and I assume can lead to so many important changes that business owners can make.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. All right, last thing. I think I've said last thing a few times. We'll count this truly. Where can people find you? I know you've mentioned a few different ways, and we'll make sure to put all the links in the description. Shout out some of those places.
Yeah, corematters.com is the easiest way to find us. We've got our resource guides. We've got all information about our programming. We've even got pricing on the website. So, I mean, everything is right there. Every question you could want answered, you can get there. If you want to get some more of our free content, we publish a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. You can also learn about Titans of the Trades on LinkedIn as well. I mean, it's all there. Those are the best ways to get a hold of me and connect with the team and see if this is the right fit for you.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Make sure to follow Ryan on all those places and get in touch.